Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Economists were hoping that the decline that was reported last week would be a trend, not an anomaly. But the seasonally adjusted weekly claims for unemployment benefits rose by about 61,000 last week to 719,000. On the upside, the 4-week moving average for claims continues to fall, giving economists new hope that the country is returning to pre-pandemic employment levels.
It's always about the economy, stupid. Things are starting to feel like normalish, right? Starting to feel like, okay, feeling a little bit normal. Jobs feel like they're coming back. More people are out and about doing things. Still see a lot of people in masks. The majority of people I still see in masks. When it comes to things like, how about this? How many people have actually been vaccinated?
On Wednesday, the CDC announcing more than 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. are now fully vaccinated, including more than half the country's population over the age of 65. The vaccine rollout leading to a 96% decline in cases in nursing homes.
It's because there's nobody left. This is the only 4% that lived. Cuomo's like, it worked. Idiot. Vaccinated, right? Jobless claims seem to be slowing down when you look at the average. On top of that, not only is it April Fool's Day, but
until recently, the only folks coming here to Yankee Stadium were seeking a vaccine. Now there's a giant sign that says, welcome back, fans. The weather's not so welcoming for the Yankees opener against the Blue Jays, but the rain should subside for the first pitch that will be witnessed by a crowd for the first time since before the pandemic.
Yeah. There's just a sense of feeling, spring. We're hoping, right? We feel like things are happening. Things are moving forward. We just feel like there's things that are going on. People looking to start traveling again. You hear more and more. The CEO of Delta said they're just selling like you could not believe. They're get rid of that seat in the center, right? Like travel is picking up. There's a sense of some normalcy coming back, and that is awesome. That is awesome. And I know everyone's like, we got to caution everything. We have to protect. We have to understand what potentially could happen. Some places are shut. I mean, you look at France. France is shutting down, I think, for the 3rd or 4th time. And one of the reasons they're doing that, and if you've noticed this, the places that were really locked down, and virologists have said this from the beginning, we're not going to get there strictly as far as herd immunity on vaccines alone. There is going to have to be exposure. There is. So the places that were really locked down, where they said we did a really good job, the issue has been the minute you open up any little bit, it takes off again because the exposure was never there. Places like Arizona, Florida, Texas, we were pretty open. I mean, we at times we're the worst in the world here in Arizona. Now we're kicking butt. Why? Because we had so many people that were exposed. Florida, Texas. Now, you're going to still see numbers go up here and there because as we return to a world where everybody's feeling like, and not only are the younger going out, but everybody seems to be. But you also have now so many other things in place. It just feels like there is a step in a direction of normalcy. And that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. It's what we want. It's what we're about. I don't know what's coming. I don't know about the other variants. I'm just telling you, I feel like today, I mean, we're going to have opening day here, 20,000. Of course, Biden's coming out as usual. He is doing what Biden does.
That's a decision they made. I think it's a mistake. They should listen to Dr. Fauci and the scientists and the experts. But I think it's not responsible.
Talking about Texas, opening day, having fans. I don't know how many fans are going to be there. New report says some people are still a little nervous about going out. Totally get that. That's going to be. We've talked about that there is a sense that some people are going to fight with this for a long while. Even though they may be vaccinated, they're going to wear a mask everywhere, even when there isn't, they're not being told to wear a mask. Some people are going to be in situations where they're always going to be concerned for the coming weeks and months, and maybe this may be it for good for them, of being in crowds because of what could be. Because now it's always going to be about the next thing, the thing that they don't know that may be coming, the thing that is that variant of something else they never even thought about. That's a psychological thing. But we had to get there. We had to make that move to get our economy going again, to push ourselves out there again, but also to take that first step. And that first step is so hard because you're going to get second-guessed. You're going to get hammered by the likes of Biden and the media. How dare they bring more people in there? How dare they allow people? How dare they do stuff? But at some point in time, you have to take the step. And that's exactly what some of these states are doing. Is it going to work? I think it will. Well, I don't think we really have a choice. I think we really have a choice at this point. But we're here now. It is time to be more positive than doom and gloom and negative. We can be cautious and use common sense. But once we take that step, which we've taken, it's forward. Essentially, let's burn the boats. And if you guys don't know what that's a reference, if you go back and look at history, from Cortez to great warriors across time, one of the ploys they used to do is they would burn the boats. So they would go onto a land and, they'd say, all right, we're going to battle, our arch nemesis or whatever it is, and we burn the boats. So there is no retreat. It's forward or nothing. Well, forward is what we have to do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Immigration is an issue that it's 35 years in the making. And even before that, if you can go back and see how long immigration's been an issue, if you're a study of anything. We tweeted out something here. You can go to Chad Benson Show. And if you've not seen it, it's a tough thing to watch. Middle of the night, out in the middle of godforsaken nowhere, two men, two little girls, a wall. So I live out in the middle of godforsaken nowhere. I just want to tell you guys this. I live dead smack between Phoenix and Tucson. There is not a lot going on out where I live. The Border Patrol headquarters are there. We've got a couple truck stops and some small little restaurants. And our nearest town is about 15 minutes away. It's got about 40,000. And if you drive for an hour from my house, you're in Phoenix. And there's we're the fifth largest city in America. But where I live, we have the Tohono O'odham tribe. So we have if I turn left, you go about a mile outside of my house, you're on tribal land. And if you drive for 2 hours, you're in Mexico. And there is some wall. Not there, but down a ways. And it goes all the way through to El Paso. But let me tell you something. There's nothing out there. I mean, there's nothing. Like coyotes, I don't want to be out here. It's terrifying. That's how desolate some of it is. So this video, and it's one of those videos where it's all infrared. You see a man on top of the wall, and he has a little 2-year-old girl, and he drops her over the wall. Then he reaches for a 5-year-old little girl, and first of all, the 2 or 3-year-old little girl hits the ground kind of face first, right? And you can see, you can just tell she's crying, she's terrified, she's in the middle of godforsaken nowhere. She's trying to get stuff out of her mouth. You can see, and then they drop a 5-year-old little girl on the other side of the wall. So this is in the middle of nowhere. And then the two men on the other side, on Mexico, you see them just turn and run away. So they left a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, or a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old in the middle of nowhere. And luckily,
they are healthy. They're good. They were eating a banana and some orange juice that we gave them.
Yeah. That is, if you've not seen it, and we've put it up, that it is a tough watch. As a father, and that's Gloria Chavez, and she's the one who's got the video, and I retweeted it. As a father, you see that, and you say to yourself, it is sickening. It is sickening. And, it's like the two men. Look, I don't know the story of the two men. Were they family members? Were they running back to get somebody else? I don't know what it is. Were they smugglers? More than likely. Were they working for the cartels? Yeah. and as we all know, in a lot of those places around the globe, it's silver or lead. You're going to get something. So the choice is this or that. But it is tough. And luckily,
if the agent wasn't looking at that spot during that time, they would have missed those 2 little girls. And God knows for how many hours before they found them.
Yeah. But they found them and they're healthy. But it shows you everything you need to know about like how desperate human beings are in the situations they're in. And we need a fix. And to say there's not an issue is a lie. And to ignore something, by the way, is stupid. Some things we're never going to get to because we have a battle of competing, Democrats and Republicans. And we're going to touch on infrastructure later, which is one of those things. But the reality is in a situation like this, the longer we let it go, the worse it gets. The longer we let it go, the more desperate people are, the worse it gets. And when you see stuff like this, as a human being, you're thinking to yourself, my God, I could not imagine that. My little one being dropped over a wall, desperate enough to hand over my children. Their mother apparently is in the U.S. But it is sickening. And we have people who will use this as a political ploy, and we have people who will use this to raise money. You know what we don't have? People who want to problem solve. Find the richest people in the world, the most successful people in the world. You know what they do? They problem solve. Find people that use the problem to continue to keep the power. And you know what you have? Politicians. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Hope all is well with you. Raycon's best earbuds around. Love my Raycons. I do. I had to hide my Raycons, to be honest. They're at home charging, but I had to hide them. Why? Simple. My son, Jack, is here. He takes them all the time. Every time he comes out, he takes them. If I buy him a pair, he'll use them and lose them because he's a 10-year-old. And if his head wasn't on tight, he'd lose that. So I have to hide my Raycons from him. They're amazing. And the reason he loves them, and by the way, he's a little kid. It's all about, he's about fashion and hype and the name. And he's like, Dad, the Raycons are way better than all the other stuff that I've had. I'm like, I know. Raycon earbuds are the best. There's no stems. There's no wires. You never even know they're in. Noise isolating fit. And if it gets the approval of a 10-year-old that is fashion forward and definitely somebody who's all about being vapid and cool, well, you'll find nothing better. The sound quality, the design, and the price starts well under $100. Save you an extra 15%. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad to get the best earbuds around. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show. Opening day, sense of fun and frivolity, partially because it's April Fool's Day, the day of the fool, the day where you play games and make people laugh. Yes. So earlier this week, it came out that Volkswagen was going to change its name to Volkswagen. It's harder and harder to fool people. It is. And partially because you can still fool the masses easily. That's not a hard thing to do. The problem is, in the masses is going to be enough people that will go, that's BS. And I'll point it out. And for whatever reason, they believe that. Now, when it comes to things like politics and fake news, but the fooling of people for little things seems to be, it's like that's easy to do, but they quickly rectify it. Oh, yeah, okay, they got it. It was a joke. I get it now. The election, totally rigged. Totally. It's crazy. But how did we get to April Fools? Well, I like to give you guys a little history. You guys know this. I love these kind of things. Now, when did it start? Some people say it started in 1582. The French, of course, it's always the French, of course. We switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, of course, as it was called on by the Council of Trent in 1563. The Julian calendar, though, as in the Hindu calendar, the new year begins with the spring equinox, April 1st, right around there. People were slow to get the news, failed to recognize any of that stuff. And guess what? They thought the start of the new year had moved to January 1st, continuing to celebrate it continuously, right? So you had this thing where people were out there still thinking it's like the new year, and other people are like, no, it's just April, bro. So April 1st, those people became the butt of the jokes. They were called April Fools. Pranks included putting a paper fish on their back, which essentially said that you were gullible, easy to catch like a fish. Oh, yeah. But there's been, there's lots of different ways. But we really, it took off in the 60s, right? It took off in the 60s. First of all, like the 50s and 60s exploded. But Swiss farmers, 1957, the BBC reported, and this is the BBC. They're like, hello, Swiss. Yes, Swiss farmers are experiencing a record number of spaghetti crops, and showed footage of people harvesting noodles from trees. Oh, my goodness. People bought into that. 1985, George Plimpton, Sports Illustrated, tricked many readers into an article that he had made up about a rookie pitcher named Sid Finch who could throw a ball 168 miles an hour. Two of the best, though, 1992. NPR ran a spot with former President Richard Nixon, who was an actor, by the way, saying he was going to run for president again. Caught the country by surprise. And in 1996, Taco Bell pissed everybody off because they said they had agreed to purchase the Liberty Bell and intended to rename it the Taco Liberty Bell. Burger King offering the left-handed Whopper. Oh, man, there's some stuff. I'm telling you guys. It is crazy. But that's kind of some of the origins of it. You can have a laugh today. And apparently, 2% of people today, according to a new study, will lose a friend because of a bad April Fool's joke. Think about that. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
5 days prior to this happening, I pulled up on the squad car somewhere in South Minneapolis, and I seen Mr. Chauvin, and I told him, like I tell our officer, at the end of the day, you go home to your family safe, and let the next person go home to their family safe.
Charles McMillan yesterday, whose testimony was powerful. The emotion of his testimony as well. He is one of the witnesses to the death of George Floyd. It was 5 days prior to the incident that took place between Derek Chauvin, the officer, and George Floyd. He felt a little bit guilty, as did several people, when it came to them calling the police on that day when it came to George Floyd. And you could hear him start to break down.
I don't have a mama either, but I understand him. My mom died June 25th.
He just put himself in a situation where he was looking at George Floyd, not as, a suspect of something, but at that moment in time, the humanity of what was happening. And I was talking to my uncle last night. If you watch the body cam, by the way, which I thought the defense had a much better day. First of all, the body cam, as well as inside of the store, the people inside the store, George was on something. You could tell he was on something. I talked to my uncle last time. I also talked to a legal expert yesterday, Monica Lindstrom, and she says, he wasn't the upstanding, kind of criminal or, suspect that, he was just like, no, he was fighting back. There were issues. He was saying even before he was on the ground that he couldn't breathe. He was saying that even before.
Please, mother, please, please, take a seat. Please, man, please. No, take a seat. I can't choke. I can't breathe, mother. Please, please. Fine. My wrist, man.
And officers will tell you all the time. They hear stuff like that all the time. And you hear that, and you think to yourself, my goodness, he was saying that even before. He was saying that even before this took place. And you're like, does it change people's minds? Well, I don't know. I'm not in that jury. I don't see it all day. I've got other things to do. I host 2 radio programs. I have a family and stuff, and I try to catch up as much as possible. Let me tell you something. I've usually got it on throughout parts of the day and try to get as much as possible. That's why I have legal experts. But, if I'm sitting there and I'm hearing him say he can't breathe even before, that's why I'm telling you guys, the experts, witnesses that are going to be coming, which is it's going to be the coroner's report, and of course the medical examiner is going to be there. And remember when this first came out, the medical examiner's like, yeah, there was a little bit of bruising, but mostly what he died from is, is heart issues and things of that nature. He had hypertension, high blood pressure, he had drugs on him. You could hear right there, the first thing, and I was telling my uncle last night, he was having a panic attack. He was having a panic attack. And as you all know, once the panic attack shows up, you ain't listen to anybody. And then it just spiraled from there. It did. It got out of control. And then Derek Chauvin, and you could hear him say he's a big dude. Because he was. I mean, you stand him side by side. George Floyd was a big guy. He wasn't a little dude. But if you're on the jury, do you take into effect? He's saying that even before, right? So he's, you're in that room, you're going, well, guys, he's saying he can't breathe before. This wasn't him on the ground saying he can't breathe. This is him saying that. And that, those are the things that are going to be going through people's minds. He was on something. You could tell. Again, going on the camera, what we've seen the footage with just that. But then you start to tie everything together, and you get a sympathetic juror or two who says maybe, hey, based on the evidence we have here, there was a lot that played into it. Yeah, Derek Chauvin and the police had a role, but this guy wasn't in good shape. He was having a lot of issues. And that's why those medical examiners and the battle that's going to come from those two is going to be very real.
People keep saying, listen, it's about facts and law, but that's not true. This isn't just about what happens in court. George Floyd is a metaphor for how many men and women feel about what can happen to them. And we're seeing that in their faces and in their pain, are we not?
Yeah, we are. And seeing a police officer strangle the life out of a black person in their own community while they were trying to go get a snack. There's a lot at stake here. I don't care who you voted for in the last election. Just understand the humanity of what's going on for people every day in this country that may escape your view. There's an opportunity for us all to learn from each other.
By the way, let's just, settle down, Van Jones. Yeah, that is her. And let me tell you something. For me, as a kid growing up, I saw my dad many run-ins with the police. And at one time, he did have a heart attack because he was hopped up on drugs. I mean, there was, and he was younger, too, by the way. He's very young. I was a kid. It is, but it's real. I mean, but at the same time, that kind of thing is like he's just going to get a snack. And well, the police didn't just show up, right? Let's just remember, the police showed up because somebody called and said, he's acting erratic and he's passed us a $20 bill that's not real. And you're like, okay. So you show up. And then it escalates from there. And then Derek Chauvin and him have a tussle. They go to the ground. You hear that there from the body cam. And their whole thing is, you got to prove that, hey, my knee's on him for the entire time. And then the other question is, were you trained that way? Did you get trained in that? If you were trained in that, that's also an issue. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not as cut and dry as people always think. We always think it's easy, as we saw, like he was standing there and he came up and shot him. It's not that simple. And that's why if you're a juror, you're sitting there, you're having to listen to everything. And you're also taking into account, if we don't find this guilty, our town can burn down.
Listen, this wasn't a good guy. Did you hear what he did to the pregnant lady? Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And, let's be honest, he was in there committing a crime and he didn't listen to if they just listened to the police, none of this would happen. What is the right response to somebody who wants to look at George Floyd as the seed of the problem?
The reason we have police officers is to show up when people are making bad decisions. That's their job. He made some bad decisions. What you want from your police officers is then for the police officers to make good decisions. You don't get a great society when you got some people without wearing uniforms making bad decisions and then people with the uniforms make worse decisions. The police should obey the law.
Yeah, they should. Absolutely, they should obey the law. 110%. That's why you heard yesterday that Donald Williams guy said, I called the police on the police. So this trial is going to have a lot of twists and turns. And the jury's going to have a lot to take into account here. But the world is watching. I get WhatsApps from my friends all over. They're riveted in other parts, especially in Europe. And right now, it's even a bigger deal because a lot of places are locked down. And this is one of those things where they're watching this in real time because there's not a lot going on in some of these places. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every one of you. So apparently Joe Biden would like Major League Baseball, really like everybody and everything business-wise to leave Georgia.
And it's just not right. This is Jim Crow on steroids, what they're doing in Georgia.
I have looked at the bill on more than a few occasions. Some of it is just, whatever. But it is just, I also sit there and I'm thinking to myself, it's not as bad as it's not Jim Crow on steroids. It's not. Sorry, I don't buy that. And it's funny because the same people that scream and yell, it's Jim Crow on steroids, it's all these kind of things, it's horrible. You're wearing shoes produced by Sweatshop, little kids, all over. We can't avoid it anymore at this point in time, and you don't care, right? You don't. Well, that's a different country, right? The Uyghurs are locked up, and it's like you're totally fine. Hollywood will sit there and lecture you about I'm never going to work in Georgia again, and Disney in particular because they do a ton of stuff there. Well, we're never going to go to Georgia again. All the while, you'll film in China, in a place where the Uyghurs are locked up as slave labor. And you're fine with that. Spare me the BS. Look, are some of these bills ridiculous? Absolutely. Some of them are, how dare somebody ask for an ID? How dare somebody ask for an ID? My goodness me. It's just, we were talking the other day. Producer Phil, our producer here, went and bought a can of the air spray for the keyboard. They made him show an ID. That's crazy. That is crazy. And more CEOs are being pressured.
Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian tells ABC's GMA3 that after reviewing Georgia's new voting law and speaking with leaders in the African American community, it's clear it will make it harder for black voters to cast their ballots.
This is going to have a significant impact on their perception of their ability to gain access to the polls, and we don't support that.
The CEO of Coca-Cola also now says the law is unacceptable. Earlier, he'd called it disappointing. Both of the Georgia-based companies had faced threats of boycotts after their initial, more muted responses.
And where Republicans need to stand up and say, look, we want voter ID, but we also need to expand polls in areas that are underserved. That's what we need to do. We need to expand polls into areas that are underserved and make sure that they have polls and access to polls. We need to make sure that if you don't have an ID, that you can go and get a voter ID. That's not hard to do. And if you say, well, I can't get an ID, well, at that point in time, that's a you problem, right? That is a you problem. Some of the stuff, like you see in Texas, where they're shutting things down in certain areas and stuff and trying to make it so people have to go vote. No, that to me is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Expand the areas. Well, they'll vote for the Democrat. Then they vote for the Democrat. Expand the areas. But at the same time, hold your ground when things like voter ID. Hold your ground for certain things. You know, the water thing is stupid. Well, you know what? You couldn't do that anyways within a certain amount of feet. Nothing's really changed there. They just brought it out because it makes it feel good. It's all about the emotions of stuff, guys. Just always remember that. You tell a story and the emotions. But if you're a Republican, shame on you for trying to close things in certain areas where you should be expanding them. And at on the other side of it, Democrats, stop treating people of color as if they're not capable of getting an ID, and somehow that even asking them for an ID and everybody else, that is in some way, shape, or form racist. Once again, politicians using politics to screw up something. 323-534-2423. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter. MyPillow. Speaking of crazy politics. Great product. What did I say? You know, we've talked about it here, and I'm very honest with you guys on the show. I love the product. I absolutely love the product. Everything I've ever gotten from MyPillow is incredible. They have slippers now. The slippers are awesome. They're incredible. They've got now a 2-for-1 deal on towels, and the towels I have from them are incredible. And by the way, when you wash them, they're still great. How many times you buy a towel, you wash it once, you're like, well, this thing's frayed and nasty. You're not going to get that. 7 different colors. Buy one, get one free. And it's simple and easy. 7 different colors. You're going to get 2 giant towels. They're not lotiony. They feel great. They soak everything up. You're also going to get hand towels and washcloths. And you buy that, and you get another set for free. Take advantage of it. It's great. The deals are amazing. And the product, I love the product. Plus, made in the USA, that is a huge win for me. A massive win. 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. So if you think, I tried it, did like it, I'm sending back one money back, there you go. Money back, no questions asked. Simple and easy. Go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Benson to get the buy one, get one free in their towel sets. MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com. Promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
And the winner of the Oscar is... Who?
You may not be able to name all 8 Best Picture Oscar nominees, but how many have you actually heard of?
The Black Panthers.
Judas and the Black Messiah is the nominee people are most aware of, but even then, less than half of people have heard of it, according to a new poll from Guts and Data, published in Variety. 46% of respondents knew at least a little something about Judas. Trial of the Chicago 7 was second with 39%, followed by Nomadland and Promising Young Woman. Then more than 75% of people knew nothing about Minari, The Father, and Sound of Metal. And Mank finished last. Just 18% were aware of the Netflix film, even though it has the most nominations.
I've heard of Mank. Father. I don't even know what that one is. Trial of the 7, Chicago 7. I've heard. Know the story. I've not seen one of these. Not one. Normally, I will accidentally see one, but not a one. And is it? And that's a normal thing. And when you think about it, though, because most of the time, the Best Picture nominees are not movies you recognize. But this is extra right now. This is like, what are you talking about? I've never even heard of any of these. Minari. I think producer Anthony saw it, and I think he said it was slow. It's a good one. Isn't that what these movies are all about, though? It's about drama. It's slow. It's about drama. It's about being very dramatic. It's very dramatic. Yes, it's about the story. Was it last year? Wasn't there like a movie about like 2 guys and a cow? Like one guy was from, it's just like, I'm like, who greenlit this? Have you ever thought, to me, I've always find that to be fascinating. Like, I always find that, like, I would love to be in the process where a guy comes in and he's like, all right, I got a great movie. I was like, what's the movie? You know, and it's about a single mom who's an alcoholic, recovering drug addict, who is trying to win her children back, but also does origami. And you're like, oh, what? Right? And like the most obscure thing, she does that. And on the side, she is a goat massager. And it's about a relationship. It's very haunting. It sounds haunting. It sounds like the worst thing ever. That's why they don't let me run stuff. Like, my movies would never win an Academy Award, but I bet you they would make some money. And you guys think I'm kidding. But The Last Cow, or The First Cow, I think, was a movie last year. And it was just, I thought somebody had to be fired, right? Like, somebody, how do you even come up? Yeah, it's called The First Cow. Two travelers on the run from a band of vengeful hunters in the 1820s Northwest dream of striking it rich, but in a tenuous fortune that they're searching, they somehow rely on a secret use of a landowner's prized dairy cow. So stupid. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Economists were hoping that the decline that was reported last week would be a trend, not an anomaly. But the seasonally adjusted weekly claims for unemployment benefits rose by about 61,000 last week to 719,000. On the upside, the 4-week moving average for claims continues to fall, giving economists new hope that the country is returning to pre-pandemic employment levels.
My goodness. Star Wars had a new hope. Remember that? Which one was that? Was that a good one? Bad one? I don't know. They're all. After the second one, I was like, okay, I'm done. Empire Strikes Back. So I'm moving on. Yeah, jobs, kids. That's what it's about. Jobs, 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 jobs. Because with jobs comes, you guys ready? Money. With money comes stability. With stability comes peace of mind. The last year, we've had none of that. Jobs, pfft. Money, pfft. Peace of mind, pfft. Coronavirus, yeah, that's why. Yesterday, President Biden laid out his $2.2 trillion infrastructure plan, part 1.
So today, I'm proposing a plan for the nation that rewards work, not just rewards wealth. It builds a fair economy that gives everybody a chance to succeed. And it's going to create the strongest, most resilient, innovative economy in the world. It's not a plan that tinkers around the edges. It's a once-in-a-generation investment in America. Unlike anything we've seen or done since we built the interstate highway system and the space race decades ago. In fact, it's the largest American jobs investment since World War II.
Yeah, and all that sounds like, yeah, America, let's get behind it and stuff. So, they're going to, because look, let's be real. We're taking on one nation. We are taking on one nation. And it's great. And you talk it up, like, hey, we're going up against China. We're going to go up against them. This is what it's about. They're rolling through things. We're going up against China. We need to compete. That I agree with. I'm on board.
It will create millions of jobs, good paying jobs. It will grow the economy, make us more competitive around the world, promote our national security interests, and put us in a position to win the global competition with China. It's big, yes. It's bold, yes. And we can get it done.
It's got to be big. It's got to be bold. It's going to be expensive. Let's not for a second think it's not going to be expensive. Then that thing's going to be super expensive. It is. But the reality is it's got to be big. It's got to be bold. This is not one of those situations where you're going to be, thinking that we're not going to be spending money. Now, it's money right now that we really don't have. Dave Ramsey would be just losing his mind. But these are things that we need to do. We've needed to do them for such a long time. It can be bipartisan. It should be. Apparently, he and Mitch McConnell spoke the day before.
Historically, infrastructure had been a bipartisan undertaking, many times led by Republicans. It was Abraham Lincoln who built the Transcontinental Railroad. Dwight Eisenhower, Republican, the interstate highway system. And I don't think you'll find a Republican today in the House or Senate who doesn't think we have to improve our infrastructure. They know China and other countries are eating our lunch. So there's no reason why it can't be bipartisan again. The divisions of the moment shouldn't stop us from doing the right thing for the future. We'll have a good faith negotiation with any Republican who wants to help get this done. But we have to get it done.
Yeah. What's it going to cost? What's in it? Because as we all know, what's in it and what's in it are two different things. How we're going to pay for it is the third thing. We know that they're going to talk about the bridges and the railroads and the airports and the Pony Express or whatever that, he's like, whatever the kids are doing to get things from point A to point B. That's not very nice, Chad. You're making fun of his age. But of course, we got to talk about this.
The American Jobs Plan will lead to a transformational progress in our effort to tackle climate change with American jobs and American ingenuity. Protect our community from billions of dollars of damage from historic superstorms, floods, wildfires, droughts, year after year, by making our infrastructure more secure and resilient and seizing incredible opportunities for American workers and American farmers in a clean energy future.
That's going to cost a lot. Yesterday, I talked a bit about the climate change because, that's the new thing now. People are coming here from all over the world. It's climate change. And so, America's the place to go. And, there's jobs and climate change. And that's going to be one of the new things. They're going to be climate refugees. So be prepared for that when the asylum thing starts to come and it's all climate refugees. We can debate that at another time. But as I was talking about that, and I've been saying that for a very long time, you watch, climate change is going to be the new thing that people can apply for asylum-wise here. And we'll see how that goes, right? We'll see how that goes. But a guy who runs a large power plant, he's getting ready to retire. He tweets at me. He says, he direct messages me. He says, Chad, I've been dealing in coal, and I did hydro plants for a long time. And he says, nuclear is the only thing that's going to get us clean and to do the things that everybody wants to do. And everybody's terrified to talk about it. Of course. Super. I mean, it's like people driving electric cars. What do you think those batteries come from? And by the way, where do you think they're going to go? Right? Your car doesn't get to like 8 and then magically just disappears. At some point in time, those batteries are going to be replaced. And where do you think your electricity come from? We're going to go over this again. There is no magical electricity catcher. Most of it's coal. Doesn't mean we don't aim to do better. Doesn't mean we don't continue to innovate and find a way. But those are like a lot of things. And the expense of some of this. And by the way, the expense, let's talk about that. How are we paying for that? Taxes?
No one, we say it again, no one making under $400,000 will see their federal taxes go up, period. This is not about penalizing anyone. I have nothing against millionaires and billionaires. I believe in American capitalism. I want everyone to do well.
Yeah, so he's got nothing against it. And I'll say this again. Millionaires and billionaires, you can tax them, whatever. I mean, people aren't paying what you think. No, like outside of athletes and a few others, most people who are in a situation like that, they're their own independent business. Everything's a write-off. You could charge them whatever you want to charge them, and it doesn't matter. They're going to just even Trump. Trump was told by Bannon, dude, don't lower taxes on these people. Raise taxes. People will cheer you on for it. Just like you, man, you ain't paying that. You're not paying any of that stuff. Then you get into the business side of stuff. And that's different. Right?
We're going to raise the corporate tax. It was 35%, which is too high. We all agreed 5 years ago it should go down to 28%, but they reduced it to 21%. We're going to raise it back to up to 28%. No one should be able to complain about that. It's still lower than what that rate was between World War II and 2017. Just doing that one thing will generate $1 trillion in additional revenue over 15 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in theory, if everything goes right. And remember, everything's always in theory. In theory, if we do all these things, we're going to have all these roads built and you're never going to hit a pothole again and our airports are going to be updated and stuff. But you and I both know none of that stuff is ever as simple. And by the way, just to let you guys know, if you think, oh, that sounds like a lot, it is nothing compared to what other people inside of the Democratic Party want.
After 4 years of rolling back environmental protections, after, no work on infrastructure, that we really need to invest significantly and more than the 2.25 trillion that he is talking about.
That's Ms. Jayapal. If you guys don't know who she is, she's fun. She's the socialist from Washington State who just, man, she thinks that everybody who has a business is like Scrooge McDuck, who just goes in the back, jumps into their gold, and that they're evil and bad. And what I love about it is the fact that government always tells you how greedy capitalism is. And people who are successful, it's all about the greed and stuff. And yet, I'll say it over and over again. I'll say it for the next 50 years if you guys give me a chance to be on the radio that long, which would be weird because I'll be like 100. I'm like, sure, let's talk about it. But you want to see greed, go to Washington. There are people that build their entire campaigns and their entire political lives on figuring out how they could take more money from everybody else. That's something to think about right there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Today, opening day, baseball is back. It's opening day.
Until recently, the only folks coming here to Yankee Stadium were seeking a vaccine. Now there's a giant sign that says, "Welcome back, fans." The weather's not so welcoming for the Yankees opener against the Blue Jays, but the rain should subside for the first pitch that will be witnessed by a crowd for the first time since before the pandemic.
There you go. So, some crowds will be very spread out, but you'll notice there's people there. One stadium in particular, Texas, the Rangers, they're going to open it up. It's this is it. We're living it. We're playing it. We're doing it.
That's a decision they made. I think it's a mistake. They should listen to Dr. Fauci and the scientists and the experts. But I think it's not responsible.
Of course not. That's the president talking about not being responsible, wants baseball and everybody roll stuff back. Maybe not allow so much here in Arizona. I think next weekend, it's the home openers here, and they're going to, from here on out, I think it's going to be 20,000 is what they'll allow in. So about 40%. So this is it. I mean, this is a feel of some normalcy. I mean, you got a big movie that came out this weekend that debuted yesterday, which is Kong versus Godzilla. So it just kind of feels like we're heading there. And we're still seeing some cases rise, and there's still going to be some issues. But it feels like we're heading in that direction. So before you can think about doing all the other things, Joe Biden's like, we got to get ourselves in a situation where we are good with the coronavirus. That I totally agree with. But now we have taken that step. Right? We've jumped out of the airplane in many of these states. We've got the parachute, but there is no going back. And trying to get us to go back, trying to be France, we're like, hey, we're going to lockdown for the 700th time. It's just not going to happen. We're not like that. France is like, okay, for you, yes. Here we're like, nah, we don't think so. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, fastest growing over 50 organization in the country, growing day in, day out, and providing great services. Services that are really interesting. Services, I always tell people, my friends, as we've all gotten to the point where we're over 50, I say, what are they about? I said, well, first of all, they go and they lobby. I'll say it straight out. They're out there fighting for things like your First and Second Amendment. They're out there fighting for things like common sense immigration reform. They're out there in bipartisan way making sure that both sides realize that, hey, Social Security, Medicare, don't touch it and make sure it's solvent. But they also offer retail, restaurant, hotel, travel discounts, and everything else. Plus, they can help you with questions like, when should I take Medicare? When should I take Social Security? I'm not quite to those positions, but I would like health insurance. Can you help me with that? They have all the answers for you. Join today. It's pennies today. It's $16. amac.us/chat. 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 Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's find out what's trending. Matt Getz says he's a victim of criminal extortion after New York Times reported he's under investigation for possible sex trafficking of a 17-year-old. What? Major League Baseball opening day today. Going down. There's actually going to be fans in the stands. See how many actually show up. You know, there's a new poll out that says people are hesitant to return to sporting events and concerts. Tiger Woods trending, and the reason is the detectives have essentially said, no, you guys can't see the report of what took place in the crash, and they're going to keep it a shh. They've discovered what caused it. I think a lot of people are thinking, well, this has to be Tiger, right? He had to be on something or something like this. But on the other side, you never know what, remember this was the Genesis, and this was this new vehicle, and there, was there an issue with that? Biggest search, though, in the last 24 hours anywhere is Kong versus Godzilla. Massive search, and it is going to be interesting. This is the first weekend when you're going to see a movie that opens up in the United States that may actually really do something big. Last week's number one was Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, but Kong's already made $122 million worldwide, and it is it's poised to do something potentially, which again goes back to the next step of some normalcy here. It's just baseball's opening up. You're seeing the many different things are taking places over and over. Again, over the last year, we've skipped so many things. Well, now you're seeing more and more people are returning back to work in a lot of places. I noticed that here where I am, the parking lot's a lot busier than it used to be, say, a year ago, where it was just completely empty. And, baseball is going to have fans. Basketball, the NHL are allowing fans back in, albeit in small numbers in certain areas. But it's go time, people, I think, feel. And of course, we had spring break and, Miami and everything else that goes on down there. Well, it just went on as normal. You would never even know that COVID took place in some places. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Los Angeles Times, a very interesting article about Georgia voting law and Hollywood. Why is Hollywood over this comparatively to what they normally do in situations like this? We'll touch on that. Some interesting stuff that Lester Holt said as well. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
When I saw the bill, I noticed that it had a blue pigment to it, kind of how a $100 bill will have, and I found that odd, so I assumed that it was fake.
That is the cashier who was working at the convenience store that got the bill from George Floyd. And the domino effect started from there. Trial it's in full swing, and people are paying attention to it across the globe. There was a lot of emotional testimony yesterday. This is George McMillan, who, it was very interesting because he also works at the store, but he encountered Derek Chauvin a few days earlier.
5 days prior to this happening, I pulled up on the squad car somewhere in South Minneapolis, and I seen Mr. Chauvin, and I told him, like I tell all officers, at the end of the day, you go home to your family safe, and that the next person go home to their family safe.
Translation. Don't get killed. You know? Looking at him saying, hey, you know what? Don't get killed. You know, you're a cop. You should go home safe. You have a job like anybody else. Your job is tough. And it's an eerie kind of weird, 7 degrees. But in an area where you have police that are familiar with everything, you're going to run into people on a daily basis and become familiar with them. And it was he was very emotional yesterday about what took place. And just listening to him talk about the situation with George, because he pleaded with George to calm down, said, dude, you're not going to win this. Just calm down. You're not going to win this. Calm down, calm down, calm down. But then when George was crying out for his mom and having issues, he kind of put himself in there and he broke down.
I don't have a mama either. I understand him. My mom died June 25th.
Yeah. It's a sad thing that any of this happened. It was a better day for the defense. So they played the officer camera. They also played stuff from inside of the convenience store. And you could tell, as did all of the people on the stand, and they recognized he was on something. He was all over the place. He was, it was, you could tell, right? Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. And they readily admitted that there was, he was on something. Nobody knows what it was at the time, right? You just know this guy's, kind of, you've been places, right? You've gone to a 7-Eleven, a QT, a convenience store somewhere with Flying J, and somebody comes in, you're like, all right, you could tell. But they also played video from the officers. And the entire time, as we talk about this and we're watching this, it's I can't breathe, and Derek Chauvin and the whole 9 yards. Well, this is pre the incident, trying to get him in. And you could tell from this that, okay, they didn't just take him out, throw him on the ground, and lean on him. They tried to get him into the back of the squad car, and lo and behold, he was having none of it.
Please, officer, please, please, take a seat. Please, man, please. No, take a seat. I can't choke. I can't breathe, officer. Please, fine. My wrist, man.
And you can hear him also, Derek Chauvin, say that, hey, he's a big dude, because he is. And George Floyd was a big guy, and but you also hear it's a guy who's having a panic attack. I mean, it's all going sideways now. He's having a panic attack. You can hear it happening. But with these things, saying he can't, breathe before, think about this. Put yourself into perspective. If you are a juror, right? And take the social issues out of this, if you can, for a second. Most people can't do stuff like that, but try to compartmentalize this. Just humor me for a second. If I'm sitting there and I don't know, blindfolded, know the color of the skin, you guys are explaining everything to me, And I know none of the social things that took place, what's going on. I'm just coming at this from an unbiased, straight, you have to, you as a defense attorney are trying to put reasonable doubt in the mind of somebody. And it's hard because we live in a world where none of that's true. Most of these people probably aren't unbiased. They've seen the video. They have an understanding of the case. They live in the city, and the city was under siege in a lot of ways afterwards, with businesses being burned down and nights of what started as peaceful protests that later on became just insanity and riot. But if I'm hearing before I can't breathe, that something there that sticks in my mind. Oh, he's saying he can't breathe now. This isn't on the ground and then the knee from Derek Chauvin. This is he's already saying he can't breathe. Was something starting to happen at that moment in time? Was something starting to happen at that moment in time that we weren't quite sure? And what are the underlying conditions? And that's where the medical examiner and the autopsy specialist that the family hired and the prosecution's going to have on the stand. They're going to have combating, medical data that they'll go up against. And so when you go look at the original one, it's what the county coroner said, talks about the drugs in his system, talks about his high blood pressure and his hypertension, talks about, is this one of those things where they're going to be saying, look, man, he was starting to have a panic attack. All of these things were going on. He could have walked a flight of stairs and this might have been a situation where he triggered a heart attack because of the drugs in his system. And that's what they're trying to do, is put doubt in there. And when you hear something pre the incident like that, but still, at the end of the day, that video is so compelling. That video is so compelling. And what they're going to have to do from there is try to figure out how they say, look, while he's kneeling down and it looks like his knee is on his neck and it's right around there, there's not a lot of pressure. You're not seeing that. And that's what they're going to have to try to do to convince the jury on top of everything else. So not over by a stretch, but the world is watching, and it is going to be very interesting to see how these two people who are going to have differing opinions when it comes to the cause of death, how that plays out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. I love hearing from all of you. I found this to be very interesting. Lester Holt, great journalist, actual journalist, good guy, talks about a lot of different things. And, normally you don't get journalists who open up, like, especially when you look at like David Muir. We don't know anything about him, right? Like, Lester Holt's a little bit more, became rather popular doing a lot of the other stuff for NBC throughout the years. But, those nightly news people, you didn't know a lot about them, right? Like Walter Cronkite, you kind of knew the stuff, but he wasn't giving interviews. It wasn't his job. His job was a journalist. Lester opened up about a lot of things.
The unprecedented attacks on the press in this period, I'm sure, will fill plenty of books and be studied in classrooms. But I have a few early observations I'll share about where this moment brings us and what we can learn. I think it's become clearer that fairness is overrated. Before you run off and tweet that headline, let me explain a bit. The idea that we should always give two sides equal weight and merit does not reflect the world we find ourselves in. That the sun sets in the west is a fact. Any contrary view does not deserve our time or attention.
Which is true. And he's not just talking about, like, the news. He's also talking about, I think, life in general. We've got a world now where, it's like there are people pushing agendas where, like, 2 + 2 isn't 4. It's whatever you want it to be. And you can't talk about certain things anymore because how dare you talk about certain things? Like yesterday, CNN, right? They came out and they're like, well, gender is not really assigned at birth. There's no real gender. It's not, you can't tell. Yeah, you can. Biologically, if you're talking about the aspect mind-wise and identifying, that's one thing. But if you're talking about the biological side of it, no, it's there, right? Like that, that's a fact. Okay? That is a fact. Again, I'm talking about the identification of that. But the fact that you're running something like that, you're trying to change stuff. It's like we were joking the other day about, we still joke about like they's a now. He, it's he, him, her, hey, they. They is two. They is many. They is not one. You're changing stuff. And of course, in the news world, fake news is everywhere. And he's right. Not everything needs to be fair. Sorry, it just doesn't. That's baloney. You don't deserve the time. But it's also who decides to push the news out, because it decides at times who gets to be heard and unheard. Remember, while Trump was running for office, the thought of China actually having played a part in this as a cover-up was inconceivable. And if you even dared say that you were a conspiracy theorist, now that he's out, people are going, well, it's probably escaped from a lab. When Trump talked about it, those people were evil and bad. And no, that's the stuff that's scary.
I know recent events assure that you won't have to look far to find more current and relevant examples. I think you get my point. Decisions to not give unsupported arguments equal time are not a dereliction of journalistic responsibility or some kind of agenda. In fact, it's just the opposite. Providing an open platform for misinformation, for anyone to come say whatever they want, especially when issues of public health and safety are at stake, can be quite dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. They can be dangerous. And there's a lot of people that push a lot of stuff. Look, here's one thing. And he's talking in a lot of ways, the mask, argument that goes on, or the vaccines, those kind of things. Vaccines are a little different. The mask thing, yes, do masks help? Well, of course they're going to help a little bit. Do they help as much as some people think? Maybe not. Do they not help? No, that's not true either. But one thing I'll say is, like, we don't know what's going to happen in a year with this, with these, immunizations and vaccines. 2 years from now, 3 years, we don't know. We think we know. We're pretty sure we know. I feel certain enough that I'd take it. So those things we do. But we do need to push back on baloney and falsehoods. We need to push back on a lot of different things. We just don't do that anymore. And part of the reason is because whenever you push back on somebody and you've got facts and data and truth, it's easy for people to spin it, to turn it into an argument. And then it breaks down to, you're a liar, you're a racist, conspiracy theory, white supremacist, homophobic, transphobic, and it becomes a name-calling thing. And you can't have a conversation with people who aren't willing to have a conversation. All they want to do is win an argument. They're not interested in learning.
Our duty is to be fair to the truth. Holding those in power accountable is at the core of our function and responsibility. We need to hear our leaders' views, their policies and reasoning. It's really important. But we have to stand ready to push back and call out falsehoods.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. And it should be across the board. That's what journalism used to be about. It's not about that anymore. Anymore, it's activism. Even CNN got blasted by people on the left yesterday for saying, you guys aren't talking about news, you guys are being activists. And Fox does it, MSNBC does it, CNN does it. Very few places are actually about telling you the truth. Because at the end of the day, here is some truth. It's a business. And the most views, the most clicks, the most retweets, the most subs, that gets the most money. So sometimes it's about your truth and pissing people off. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Rough Greens, best thing I've ever done for my dog Doodle. Give it to him every single day. I just sprinkle it on top. It's called Canine VitaSmart. It is amazing. It has changed his life. In fact, I think we should send some of that to Major, maybe calm him down a little bit. But Rough Greens is awesome. It's got vitamins, minerals, all the things my dog's food didn't have. I mean, you buy good dog food, but it still doesn't matter. That stuff's meant to live on a shelf. With Rough Greens, it has changed him in ways that I didn't think were possible. And it has to do with his hips and joints. He doesn't have arthritic hips the way he used to. He doesn't have the joint pain. His fatty tumors are virtually gone. And the fact that he can jump up and down on the couch now is awesome, because before it was pretty sad. Right now, Canine VitaSmart, try it yourself. Rough Greens wants to send you a bag for free. You pay for shipping. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. Roughgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MY-DOG-77. 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens, make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
Voter suppression in Georgia is alive today.
Park Cannon, state rep. That's her name is. Her name is Park Cannon, state rep in Georgia, talking about the voting bill that is, been signed by the governor, and she was arrested. Said she was trying to, she knocked on the door. Like, her thing is, I knocked on the door, Republican governor, state house office to protest the signing. And she said, I was arrested. And their worry was, hey, you know what? The cop said, look, I didn't want, and this Lieutenant Langford said in a 13-page incident report, I didn't want what took place on January 6th to potentially have an issue here because there was a bunch of agitated protesters. She faces time in jail. And it's interesting. Hollywood's been really quiet on this. Two reasons. One, Hollywood, Georgia, they do a lot of filming in Georgia. And one of the big reasons, Georgia gives you 30% tax credit. Huge, huge break on your taxes. So it's become the it place to do stuff, especially for Hollywood. Second thing, when it comes to, Georgia, so Hollywood's been really quiet. But Hollywood's quiet because, well, as we all know, Oscar's so white. They've had serious issues with diversity. No matter how much they tout it and tell everybody about it, they've got serious issues with their diversity and stuff. And the second thing is, they've also go to places like China, and they sell their souls for the mighty buck of China in places where, and we talked about what, Milan, there's a thank you to like the tourism minister for all the great work they did in filming Mulan. Oh boy, here it goes. And shut up, Mickey. This is, I know what you're saying. And that area is where they keep the Uyghurs, anywhere between 2 and 3 million. The re-education camps, right? Sterilizing them, raping them, working them as slave labor. They do that. And there's like a thank you from them. Hollywood's got no place to stand in this. They're very quiet when normally they're not very quiet. Because people are sick and tired of hearing people preach, and then, as usual, they don't practice what they preach, and they pick and choose. So, shh. But make some more good movies. No more of that weird stuff that gets Oscar nominations. We want big blow-up stuff. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's cool to be starting up every day, but every start that we take on is the same importance. We give the same level of commitment to it and preparation and everything.
Jack Flaherty, opening day pitcher for the Cardinals today. Baseball. You guys hear me joke about baseball, how boring it is. I enjoy baseball. I like going to the games. And I love the postseason, and I'll watch a little bit today. But it's to me, this has all to do with the fact that it feels like a year ago. So go back a year ago. So a year ago, it had really grabbed us, right? It grabbed us, the coronavirus, and right in the grundle. And the attention, right? So we're looking over and NBA, NHL, people going, oh my God. And baseball had just shut down their spring training, and they came back and they played that shortened season, and it just felt very awkward. This day isn't going to be 100% of normal, right? It isn't going to be that. But there is going to be people in the stands. There are going to be people there watching. And the players, the managers, let me tell you something. They noticed that. You know, one of the things that athletes have talked about is, and maybe there's a new perspective on fans, is the fact that there is something there, right? There is something there that, you know, that maybe that was missed in more ways than one. And, you know, they, for television's sake, and even for some sports sake, they you know, and being in the arenas and stuff, they've tried to give it a feel of people being in the crowd, but it doesn't replace it.
I don't know about the worst part of that. It just wasn't fans. You know, it wasn't, you know, and even just to get a little bit of taste of that in spring training, you know, there were, you know, a couple of games where, you know, where you had a few thousand and it made a difference. It makes a difference. And, you know, however many we end up with, it was a 9 or 10,000 tomorrow. You know, 9 or 10,000 fans in the Bronx is going to be fun to experience again.
Aaron Boone, Yankees, the Yankees. But it's a sense, like a spring, right? It's, you know, like baseball, you say, you know, spring, you know, hope's eternal. Right? Everybody starts out today the same place. They're 0-0. Everybody's got this sense of wonder and feelings that, you know what, maybe we get lucky. A few bounces here, a few bounces there. We stay healthy and we can run the gamut. You just don't know. And I feel that way about us right now. We're in a better position than we have been in a year. Yeah, there's some cases that you're seeing some cases go up, but a lot of it's the young. And by young, I don't mean 8-year-olds. I mean 22-year-olds who are out partying in Fort Lauderdale. I don't know if they still party there. They were in Miami, but you know, they were out and about. They're living their lives. They're down in Cabo. They're getting back out there. People are more exposed to it than they've been in the last 12 to 14 months. But I feel like we're in a much better place. Job numbers weren't great today, but I'm not terrified by that. I don't think anybody really is. I think right now we're just kind of I think what's going to help the marketplace itself is the next 3 or 4 weeks. Even if there's a spike, in some states just say, you know what, there's a spike, we can monitor, but we're not shutting down. When people start to feel comfortable, it's like, all right, this is where we're going. We've made that step. We've taken that step, and we're gone. We've said, hey, it's time to exit the airplane now. You guys, this is where you guys go. You got the little the parachute's on, and we're taking a step. But just want to remind you guys, you jump. And, coming back in here. There is no swimming back up to the airplane. And I think people want to make sure before they get to that point, especially business owners, I don't want to go out and do a bunch of things, start hiring again, if I think that there may be a change tomorrow. And I think once we get next to the 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to see a huge start to boom. And the whole thought process by many economists, both right and left, keep saying there's a potential for a big roaring 20s. A new feel of roaring 20s, a new oomph. There is a sense that could be there. When it comes to the vaccination, which is a huge helper.
On Wednesday, the CDC announcing more than 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. are now fully vaccinated, including more than half the country's population over the age of 65. The vaccine rollout leading to a 96% decline in cases in nursing homes.
That's big. So there's great signs, right? There's great signs. People are still going to be cautious. Even people who are positive and think, yeah, but we still have to be cautious because there's still going to be incidents. There's still going to be spikes in certain areas. There's still going to be some situations where we go, oh, there's still going to be some variants. And, you're always going to hear, we got to protect for variants because, variants, blah, 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 blah.
The bottom line message to everyone is why it's so important to get vaccinated. Because vaccination is not only going to protect us against the wild type, but it has the potential to a greater or lesser degree to also protect against a range of variants.
Yeah. And that's true. That's true. So, feel good. I do. And I'm always an optimistic guy. I look on, so many people, and Fauci has been very guilty of this, and I'm sure you guys have friends out there that are like this, where everything that can, there's 20 things that can happen here. There's 20 variables in this, and this thing could go all different directions. They're going to pick the worst directions all the time. They're going to pick the directions where they think this thing's going to go. And for some people, you have to have a person that will point some of that stuff out. You have to be real, but you can be positive. We're in a much better place. We're in a much better place. And that right there is great. I think we feel it. I think a lot of us do, especially as the weather in some areas really starts to turn and you're starting to see more and more people back at work. It is, I think this thing's going to take off. I said, that guy at St. Johns Hopkins, or John Hopkins, what did he say? Macri, I think his name's Dr. Macri, said April, mid to late April, early May, we'll be at herd immunity. I think for some states, they're getting very close to that when you factor in people that have been infected. And on the other side, as a nation, I think we're getting closer than I think people, especially in the powers that be, think. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. This was awful. If you've not seen it, I have tweeted it. You can check it out. It is it's a horrible thing. Immigration, I hear, the likes of Ted Cruz, and everybody blames everybody else on it. It's this person's fault for immigration. It's that person's fault. Immigration has been a hot mess for a long time. Immigration is 35 plus years in the modern times, if you will, as modernish as we can get, in the making. Okay? This is not something that is new. But when you humanize stuff, and that's what people do, it brings perspective at times that maybe a lot of us who get caught up in the day-to-day things don't think. And there is a video, and it's one of those infrared videos, of a guy on the wall. Now, is that Trump's wall? I don't know whose wall it is. It's just the wall. And he is lowering down a child about 2 or 3 and dropping that child, essentially face first, into the dirt. In the middle of the night. In the middle of godforsaken nowhere. I think near El Paso. There's not a lot out there. There isn't. I live in just outside of Phoenix, about 65 miles. Long drive every day. But from a certain area all the way through to El Paso, there ain't a lot there. There isn't. You go through Tucson, but outside of that, man, there is a bunch of nothing. So it's pitch black in the middle of nowhere. Then a second child of 5 gets dropped down. And then the 2 men that do it turn around and they walk back, run up a mountain in Mexico. And those 2 little girls are left essentially out there in the dark. Luckily, an agent was able to just be in the right place, right time.
If the agent wasn't looking at that spot during that time, they would have missed those 2 little girls. And God knows for how many hours before they found them.
Yeah. It is devastating to watch. And that's Gloria Chavez talking about the agent just happened to be looking there at the right time and was able to pick it up. Their mother apparently lives here in the United States.
We told them that not to be scared, that we're here for them and that we're going to take care of them, and that very soon, hopefully, we put them together with their mom in the United States, because that's the key, right?
It's awful. It is. They're both in good health. They're both good. But terrifying. I have a little one. I couldn't even imagine that. In the middle of nowhere. I mean, your kid leaves you for 2 seconds, right? They're 2 years old or 3 years old or even 5 years old. How many of you have been, everybody's got a story about being lost in a store by yourself. Mom turns around, she's looking at something, or dad's there. Next thing you know, you wander and you think you're there, and everybody's got a story. This is in the middle of nowhere. And this is the humanizing side of things. And it is tough to watch. We have a problem, and it needs to be addressed. And one of the things about not addressing a problem is it does what? It snowballs. Well, we've snowballed this problem to God knows how many people that have come here illegally, looking for a better life, the majority of them, struggling in many different ways. And all the while this goes on, it makes for great radio and topics for television show pundits, but it never seems to get fixed. Because there is no reason to fix something that in many minds of politicians, especially career ones, that isn't broken. The system's working the way it's supposed to. They come over. The right demonizes them. The left holds them up as a symbol. Both laugh about it behind the cameras and raise money on it. And that's sad. It's about time we think about changing the powers that be to find people who want to actually have solutions to problems like this, rather than raise money off of it and hold power. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Home title lock. Cyber criminals are better than ever. And the things they're doing now are crazy, including stealing your home. And I know that sounds weird, but it's not about stealing the actual physical home, although they're doing that as well, but as far as moving in there. But it's about just taking the title, taking the equity out of your house without you ever knowing, by quit claiming themselves on your deed, and then you're screwed. You're paying tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars either in court or paying back loans that you never took out because your equity is disappearing. Home Title Lock is here to let you know that if anybody tries to get to your title, which is public record, they're going to alert you to it so you can stop it before it starts. Right now, they want to offer you 30 days free protection. Take a look, see if you've even been a victim that you may not know about, because you won't know about it until it's too late. Go to HometitleLock.com. Use that code RADIO right there. HometitleLock.com, code RADIO. HometitleLock.com, code RADIO. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad.
The Chad Benson Show.
The body cam videos are just devastating and for the defense. They're incredibly difficult to watch.
That is Bjorn Revand talking about the body cam videos. Here's the thing. It's tough to watch, but it also, in some cases, sheds light on the fact that he was not cooperative, that he was very combative, and that even before the incident took place, while they were trying to get him in the back of the car, George Floyd, that Derek Chauvin and them were tussling, but that he was already saying, I can't breathe.
Please, brother, please, please, take a seat. Please, man, please. No, take a seat. I can't choke. I can't breathe, brother. Please, please. Fine. My wrist, man.
And look, it's tough to watch because we know what's happening. We know that minutes from then, he's going to die. It's tough to watch that because as a human being, if you don't have any compassion, you're just like, what is wrong? It is tough. And there are people out there that say, I don't care, he was doing drugs, it's on him, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you know what? Again, you can have compassion. He never once claimed he was an angel. Let's be honest. The guy had some issues. You know, he did. He had some issues. People knew about it. But you look at those things, and it's tough to watch. But at the same time, for your defense, you hearing things thinking, he's already saying he can't breathe.
Generally, when we have evidence that is very emotional, very damaging. You have to try to embrace the evidence in some way and accept, what's there. I mean, to try to argue, don't believe your lying eyes and ears, just doesn't work.
No. But right there, you're hearing him say he can't breathe. They're not in the position where he's on the ground. They're not in the position where Derek Chauvin's knee is on him. They're not there. He's already saying he has issues with that. And this guy, he's saying, look, I saw some of the video from inside the store as well as some of the cameras from on the officers. There's no doubt. Look, he wasn't right. He had issues. Issues with drugs. They noticed it in the store. So a lot of this is going to be played out. I still go back to the thing that's going to be most important is how well does the defense attorney use the county coroner's reports and them when it talks about and their expert witness on the medical stand as far as the medical side of it goes. How well can that person withstand what's going to come from the prosecution and vice versa? The defense versus the prosecution's expert witness when it comes to the medical examination. That's going to be key. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So today, I'm proposing a plan for the nation that rewards work, not just rewards wealth. It builds a fair economy that gives everybody a chance to succeed. And it's going to create the strongest, most resilient, innovative economy in the world. It's not a plan that tinkers around the edges. It's a once-in-a-generation investment in America, unlike anything we've seen or done since we built the interstate highway system and the space race decades ago. In fact, it's the largest American jobs investment since World War II.
Then he went on to talk about how he is revamping the Pony Express. It's going to be awesome. We're going to get him all new horses. No. It's huge. His infrastructure plan is massive, but yet not big enough for some. But still, this is only part one of what could be several parts. $2.2 trillion. One thing that was said yesterday, though, was very interesting. And I don't know if a lot of people picked it up. He talked a lot. First of all, he talked about China, okay?
It'll create millions of jobs, good-paying jobs. It'll grow the economy, make us more competitive around the world, promote our national security interests, and put us in a position to win the global competition with China. It's big, yes. It's bold, yes. And we can get it done.
Yes. He addressed China, which is a wonderful thing. You know, we've got to be real here on what we're facing. A lot of people don't want to do that, but he addressed China, and I was glad. One of the things he did here, though, when he was talking about China, which I find to be a little, this to me signals I'm going to kill the filibuster. We're going to kill the filibuster. We're going to destroy it. We're going to nuke it, and because we need to get stuff done.
You know, there's a lot of autocrats in the world who think the reason why they're going to win is democracies can't reach consensus any longer. Autocracies do. That's what competition between America and China and the rest of the world is all about. It's a basic question. Can democracies still deliver for their people? Can they get a majority? I believe we can. I believe we must.
It just sensed like you didn't need to bring, like that is, no. Talk about China, talk about all, talk about the freedoms. Talk about those things. It just, there was a sense of, because he started talking about bipartisanship, because apparently the day before, Mitch and him had talked about this. And by the way, the Republicans love to talk about what it's never about, like, I always hear, like, with smaller government, spend less money. No, what it is spend as much as you can, but let's spend it on the stuff that I want to spend it on, not the stuff that you want to spend it on. And they're both like children when it comes to this. You know what it reminds me of? You ever had that thing where it's like, okay, your son or daughter, you got a couple kids and one of them's having a birthday party, but you got to get the other kid a present too so they don't feel left out. That's kind of what government's become. We better give them something so they don't feel left out. Well, that usually means what? They're going to spend more of our money. Part of what we have to do is spend money. We have a big country. Smaller government I want competent government that can spend money wisely. But it's all about rewarding. You do realize that, if I'm correct, I think all those contractors, like, this is how stupid, all those contractors who were supposedly be building the wall, they're still getting paid out, even though they're not building the wall anymore. It's like, this is the insanity of how we spend and what we do. It's about being smart. Some of this stuff you look at, you're like, we need roads to be fixed. Bridges, our airports need to be updated. All of these things are absolutely real.
The American Jobs Plan will modernize 20,000 miles of highways, roads, and main streets that are in difficult shape right now. It modernizes transportation infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our airports. It'll fix the nation's 10 most economically significant bridges in America that require replacement. The American Jobs Plan will build new rail corridors and transit lines, easing congestion, cutting pollution, slashing commute times.
All of those things sound great. Unions, tech companies, fiber optics, and the green energy, not going to leave that out.
The American Jobs Plan will lead to a transformational progress in our effort to tackle climate change with American jobs and American ingenuity. Protect our community from billions of dollars of damage from historic superstorms, floods, wildfires, droughts, year after year, by making our infrastructure more secure and resilient and seizing incredible opportunities for American workers and American farmers in a clean energy future.
We're going to have to invest in that. We are. It's not, green energy is not going anywhere. You want to get Republicans on board? I've always said this. Stop using energy as a way to try to seize power. Go to them and say, look, it's a great opportunity to make money. It's a great opportunity to control things. We should be at the forefront of this, using technology to grow it. So the world, instead of having to be held hostage by other countries when it comes to fossil fuels, even though we've got tons of them here, we can be not only the forefront of it, the first mover advantage, the dominant one. And we should be doing that. But we also need to be smart about it. Like, nuclear is a real thing. We can use nuclear. Well, it could leak. This isn't 3 Mile Island, all right? This isn't going to be put together like that. It's going to be better. So this is robust and it's big. Do I think it'll get done? Probably not. Not the way that people think. Because politics will get in the way and everybody's going to want to have theirs. It's like one of those things, well, fine, we'll vote for it, but only if you give us more stuff for us, which will be frustrating. But then you got to pay for it. Taxes are going to be going up to the wealthy. That's easy to see. Corporate taxes will rise.
We're going to raise the corporate tax. It was 35%, which is too high. We all agreed 5 years ago it should go down to 28%. But they reduced it to 21%. We're going to raise it back to up to 28%. No one should be able to complain about that. It's still lower than what that rate was between World War II and 2017. Just doing that one thing will generate $1 trillion in additional revenue over 15 years.
Yeah. And I don't think people are going to have a problem with that. Remember, corporations and individuals who make large amounts of money, they don't pay taxes. They're not getting a paycheck the way that you think. For some of you, you understand that. You own a corporation, you own a business, you understand how that works. For others, they don't quite grasp it. But so there's some stuff in there that's very good. There's some stuff in there, as usual. It's a bit of an overreach, and some things just aren't plausible. And all of these things being perfect, this is what happens. So there's a lot to suss out. And I'm a big fan of, we definitely need to look at infrastructure. Man, we got crumbling roads. We got some hot messes in some of our airports and some of these things. We need to do this. I would like to see a private-public partnership because I think that would be huge as well. And I also think it would streamline some stuff. It would save us money. And it would be very innovative in a lot of other ways. But this is a portion of the way that this is going to roll for the Democrats. They want to spend big. And for some, this is not enough. And for others, it's too much. It's not the final thing, but this is just a first step. And when you've got an economy right now that is, I feel, ready to take off after what we've been through for the last 14 plus months with the coronavirus and the shutdown of the economy globally and the struggles that small, medium, and large businesses at times have had, that, yeah, this would be a welcome thing for a lot of people. It would be. But what does it really look like? How do you get it passed? That's why when I hear him talk about the autocrats and China, I just feel like he is going to get frustrated enough where he's going to go super nuclear and kill the filibuster and have them do that. And when they do that, because, you know, the worry is if you're on one side and you say, we're going to kill the filibuster, it's archaic and it impedes progress for one side and essentially, but it also makes the other side useless. There's no reason to come to work kind of thing. You can sit here and grandstand and make speeches, but at the end of the day, you're going to be overrun, so none of it really matters. But then you also have to think, if we do this, see Harry Reid, nuclear option, if we do this, one day we will not be in power. And that will come back to haunt us when the other side does it. That's usually what stops politicians from doing certain things is one day I won't be in power and they'll be able to do something. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. All right, let's just get it out there. Gender reveal. First of all, have we not? I thought the idea of gender was archaic. I was told by CNN that you can't pick gender at birth. Yet these people are telling people the gender before the baby's even born. But this time, as in many other occasions, apparently, people died. Yeah, people died. Small plane over a lagoon, little blue lagoon, too. I did not see Brooke Shields anywhere. Or Timothy Ames. Or Ames, what you mean, whatever his name was. Ames. But Caribbean Sea, flying low, families in a boat, they're clapping, they're cheering. Poof, pink cloud comes out. It's a girl! People are excited. Oh, my goodness. You know, because it has to be elaborate. You can't do anything normal. You got to go big or go home. Seconds later, the video shows the aircraft plummeting into the Nichiput Lagoon. It's a body of water right there off Cancun. And people are screaming, no way, no way. Man screams something, obscenity in Spanish, and boom, it hits the water. Pilot and co-pilot dead because of a gender reveal. It's just always got to be something. I'm telling you guys, first of all, guys, can we be honest? Stop dragging us to stuff like that. I mean, we don't want to go. Secondly, you shouldn't go either because by the sounds of it, they're dangerous. Don't go to the gender reveal. I beg you, don't go. Here's some of the gender reveals that have gone wrong. February, 28-year-old father-to-be died after a homemade device that was preparing for his gender reveal celebration in New York malfunctioned inside his garage, killed him and wounded his brother. You had the cannon one earlier. You guys remember that as well? Cannon went off. Apparently there was something inside of it. And it's just, stop it. Stop with the gender reveals. Stop it. Buy people cupcakes, right? Or just go, we're having a girl. Try that with me. We're having a girl. We're having a girl. Oh, man, I'm going to have a son. There you go. See that? See the way that works? Nobody died. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows, your Twitter. tweet at us, Rough Greens, absolute best thing I've ever done for my dog. Continue to give it to him on a daily basis, as well as my puppies. They're way ahead of the curve. So the Canine VitaSmart is pretty awesome. It's just a supplement, right? You just put it on your dog's food, and they lick it up. They love it. They lick the plate and everything. But what it does is it gives the dogs all the things that they're missing, the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, it's got probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, so all of these things that are missing from their day-to-day food, because their day-to-day food is meant to live day-to-day, in many cases on a shelf for a very long time. So when you give them this, it changes everything. For my dog Doodle, arthritis, bad joint pain, fatty tumors, we were going to put him to sleep. A year later, he's happy, he's healthy. His coat is much better, and it's much smoother. Try it. Canine VitaSmart. Try it. Rough Greens wants to send you a bag for free. They're not asking you to pay for it. You pay for shipping, and that is it. Go to roughgreens.com/Chad, ruffgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MY-DOG-77, 833-MY-DOG-77. Get your free bag of Rough Greens. Rough Greens. Make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
This morning, Britney Spears breaking her silence, saying she cried for 2 weeks because of the wildly popular Hulu documentary about her life and career.
Hi, Britney.
Spears posting on Instagram, I didn't watch the documentary, but from what I did see of it, I was embarrassed by the light they put me in.
The thing that people became fascinated with was her sort of unraveling.
Adding, I still cry sometime.
Yeah, and that's probably why your dad still has conservatorship. Chad's not very nice. By the way, some of this, I was reading earlier, she actually paid. So during the court proceedings, $2 million to the people that are running her conservatorship to hire attorneys to fight her in court. She paid to fight herself in court. She paid all of the legal fees for everybody.
Framing Britney Spears takes a closer look at her rise to superstardom and years of tabloid headlines. The singer writing about the toll that's taken. My life has always been very speculated, watched, and judged really my whole life, insulted and embarrassed by the media, and I still am till this day. The court-mandated conservatorship that has been making medical and financial decisions for her since 2008.
Yeah. Now, apparently in 2008, they were, she was low on funds. And since then, supposedly, they have added a ton of funds, some extra $60 million plus. So you can't go, wow, it's all about. But it is, I mean, it's tough. I mean, she's a 40-year-old woman. And the media doesn't make you out to be crazy or whatever it is that you are, unstable. The media runs with it, and the speculation comes from that. But a lot of times, these TMZs and everybody else, they're just reporting on things they're seeing. I mean, you wandered into a place and you shaved your head. You did, there's some things where people go, that's something that, somebody who's not having problems probably wouldn't do. But are you still there? People go, I can't believe it. I'm like, I watch her TikTok every once in a while and her Instagram, and I'm thinking, okay, I see it.
And a viral movement to free Britney. Fans of the pop star who claim the conservatorship is being used to control her against her will.
The conservatorship has got to go. I did it again.
Now Britney says it's time for kindness. I do what I can in my own spirituality with myself to try and keep my own joy, love, and happiness. I'm not here to be perfect. Perfect is boring.
I'm not that innocent.
And it's a weird thing because we watch these things in front of our eyes. It's like we were talking about the George Floyd thing. You're watching all this stuff. It's a snapshot of everything, of who a human being was, but it all unfolds in front of your eyes, and that's a different thing. Now that's everyday life, right? The first thing that we do when we see something, especially something that's going to be chaotic, is we all reach for our phones. And because this could be something. Well, that was her entire life long before any of that stuff. And some of that was hers. I mean, nobody forced her to be a singer. In saying that, it's like, what would happen if If dad says, fine, you're on your own. And then 3 years later, they're like, yeah, she lost everything. She's broke. Nearly. I'm like, oh, my God, how could they do that to her? It's a no-win situation. It is a no-win situation. Poor Brit. Free Brit. Maybe not. Not very nice. Phenomenal week. And I say that because I'm going to take tomorrow off. It is a good Friday. Every Friday is a good Friday. This one, my son Jack's here. We're going to enjoy some time together. Be off Monday as well. You guys have a blessed weekend, an amazing Easter. We will do it again next week. As always, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.